Hey y'all, let's open up your tight hips. You won't need any tools for this one, so just find a comfortable place to sit on the floor and let's get moving. We'll get started on the floor in a bear sit. So you'll take your feet out wide, pinky side edges of the feet onto the ground, and then your knees wide and your toes are pointed out. So the goal is to try to have your knees at a 90-degree angle, your hips at a 90-degree angle, and your ankles. And you do what you can with where you are. You might use your hands to kind of crawl your feet in closer so you really get the hips at that 90. Catch somewhere onto your shins, maybe your ankles, lift your chest, and then drop your elbows towards your inner knees. And just use the upper body to press the knees wide. I don't know why it's called bear sit, but somebody said that, and I appreciate when people have terms and names for shapes, and that way we can build a common language together so that we all know what we're talking about. So as the elbows press down, your chest might start to drop a little bit forward here. That's great. Lift your chest, swing your hands to the floor back behind you. Keep your feet as they are. Windshield wipe your knees to one side. So you'll drop both knees towards one side and lift both knees, go to the other. And I think about keeping the feet flexed and rolling over the heels here. Good. So we're gonna make this a little bit more challenging. Walking your hands in closer, you can keep using your hands on the ground. If it feels available, no hands on the ground, you can just do whatever with them in front of you. And this shape kind of moves a little, it travels a little, it might travel forward for you. So from here, we're gonna add more again. Next time your knees are on the right, we're gonna take a good morning over the legs. So you've got 90-degree angles in your knees and a 90-degree angle between your thighs. You can use hands on the ground if this feels really tight and challenging for you, or hands lifted. Drop your chest as low as you can, and then as soon as you can, lift your hands if you're using the touching the ground method. Over to the other side, same idea here, good morning over the legs, and then back up. Good, so you'll take that side to side about 3 more times each side, taking a good morning. Beautiful. Once you're done with that, you can wag your knees out a little side to side. And we'll take ourselves into a seated figure 4. So plant your feet flat to the ground in front of you. Your hands can step back behind you for now. Take your right ankle, cross it over top your left thigh, and then spin that thigh away from you. So you're using your strength here, no hands. Walk your hands in. I like to tent up onto my fingertips here with my fingers pointed backwards. Lift your hips up, stick your butt out and lift your chest up, and then drop the hips down. Lean forward. And just breathe into it. With hip stretches especially, I notice that the longer I make my exhales and the more I stay, the more space I find in the hip. If your fingers start to feel tense, you can always put your palms more towards the ground. And we're just still in it for a couple more breaths. Good. Lean back, walk your hands back, unhook the ankle and take it to the other side. Left ankle hooks and you use the strength of your hips to push the thigh away from you. Walk the hands in. Float your butt up. Create that little arch in your spine. Think back bend, stick your butt out, lift your chest up. Drop down to the highest point on your sit bones and keep going forward if you can. If your chest dropped, remind it to lift up. Take several more breaths here. Good. Walk your hands back, unhook your ankle, and then you'll sweep your legs around. We're gonna find our way into a frog. So if you're on a matted area, you'll want the long ways here. If you have a carpeted area, it won't matter, but you'll toe, heel, or rather just scooch your knees wide. So if you have never done a frog, I would start with your big toes together underneath you. Let your knees go wide, and then start to walk your palms down in front of you. If you can, drop down to your elbows. If you get down here and you're like, cool, feel like I can breathe. I'm not straining for breath. Feel pretty calm. Then you might take your feet and widen them in line with your knees. If this starts to feel a little bit stressful, you might distract yourself by rocking a little bit forward and back, or gently tugging your heels inward, kind of meeting in the middle somewhere. And I want you to stay slightly back and just breathe there. As we work with flexibility, some of it is tissue related, like the actual muscle tissue of the body, but the body exists also with a nervous system, and that is deeply connected to our ability to relax into things, feel open, feel flexible, feel available. So while you're here, try and cultivate that inner sense. Opening your hips, elongating your breath, and relaxing your mind. Good. Walk your hands down. You can bring your feet together, scooch your knees together, give yourself a second in a seat. Last thing we'll work with is either pigeon or a 90-90 pigeon. So we'll find the bear sit again and transition into that 90-90 bear sit. Knees go to the right. This is a 90-90 on the floor. From here, I could just walk my hands down and fold and treat this like my pigeon. Or if I feel available to straighten that back leg, I'll roll the left hip towards the right heel and try and square the hips towards the ground. I can always do this up on my hands too. If this feels like impossible to do with a straight leg, stay with the bent knee. Not quite exactly the same thing, but it'll get you a close enough stretch. You can feel free to pause and spend 2 minutes here longer if you have it. Otherwise, you'll take 3 more breaths. Good. We'll transition to the other side, either going all the way around or just switching your legs. If you did the 90-90, set yourself up and fold. If you did the pigeon, try and orient your right hip down towards your left heel. Start to walk your hands in, float your chest up. If you need to shake anything out, you can take a few windshield wipes, shake all of that out. That's great work. I hope your hips feel a little bit more open. These are some great foundational shapes for you to have in your back pocket any day you have a tight hip situation happening. See you all soon.